Do your prospects know what you do? I mean, do they really know what you do? Chances are, if you're a service provider, they actually don't, because what you're selling is invisible. So in this video, I'm gonna give you 3 steps that you can take to make your service so visible that the only question your prospects will have is, when can we get started? A client recently told me that she struggles to explain her service to prospects when they ask her, what do you do? But here's the thing, in my experience, many service providers struggle with this too, because the truth is what you're selling is truly only visible to you. The problem with selling a service that's only visible to you is that when you're explaining it to your prospects, sometimes you might tend to throw in some jargon or other insider language, which only raises doubt and confusion in your prospect's mind, and it makes them question whether or not your service is right for them. You know that you're struggling with selling the invisible if you run into any of these pitfalls. The first one is that you tend to talk more about yourself and your company than you do the problem that you solve or the benefit that your clients will receive. The second one is, without something to guide you, something that's visible, you might tend to ramble on and on and on and on about your product or service. And you're almost guaranteed that at some point during that rambling, your prospect is going to stop listening. So how do we go from selling something that's invisible to something that is very visible that people can see? Well, Tony Robbins may have said it best when he said, setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. Now, what he means is, when you have a goal, write it down, make it tangible. In this way, you're taking something that's in your mind and you're putting it on paper so it's very visible, not just to you, but to others. And the same is true about your service. If you can make your service visible so that it can be seen by others, it becomes tangible and less confusing to potential clients. So here are 3 steps that you can take in order to make your invisible service more visible in the eyes of your prospects. Now, the first thing you want to do to make your process more visible is start by listing out the outcomes of your process. Meaning, what can your customers expect to get as a result of working with you? You might be surprised at how challenging that can actually be. Now, the second step in the process is to actually visualize your process. And what I mean by that is to map it out. What does it look like? How many steps are in it? And how do you go from one step to the next step? Now, I can tell you, after spending years as a lean manufacturing person and a Six Sigma black belt, that your fulfillment process is rarely ever what you think it is, especially if you have a team. And pro tip, when you're filling out your process, if it doesn't fit on one page, you're probably doing too much. And then finally, you need to set a time frame. How long will it take you to go from start to finish in order to complete your process? Is that 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Saying it depends, by the way, doesn't count. You need to define the time frame of your process, not your customer. After all, your process is yours, it's not theirs. Interestingly enough, as simple as these 3 steps sound, I've found many people struggle with them because, frankly, they're just too close to what they do. And as the saying goes, sometimes it's hard to see the forest through the trees. So what about you? Have you ever found yourself struggling to explain what you do because you're essentially selling something that's invisible? And if so, know that you can make the invisible visible, and when you do, you'll be able to close more sales and have your clients asking, how do we start? Instead of, can you send me a proposal? Thanks for watching, and remember, the quickest way to close more sales is to turn your invisible process into something that people can actually see.